been hearing us for a long time, and we don't want you to think that she's particularly good at this. She is. She's thriving in so many ways, but she faces reality too. Reality is a tricky thing, isn't it? Because it's in your face. So she's flying home. She said she would never speak for us again if we told this story, but she doesn't mean it. She doesn't mean it. She doesn't mean it. She knows that when we tell stories on her that it helps you, and she knows that it doesn't stop our appreciation of her. So she's flying from Denver back to Salt Lake City last week on Sunday, and on her way to the airport she gets a text message from an airline that she flies on really rarely, because she doesn't really like this airline very much. She flew with friends, and so she knew she had split energy, but so what? This is what. So she got a text message that her flight was delayed because of an equipment failure, about 3 hours delayed. And Esther thought, okay, well, it doesn't really matter where I am, blah, 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 blah. I can be happy anywhere, blah, 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 blah. Well, she really sort of kind of means that, but she didn't like the delay. And she knows sometimes, because she's had the experience, and she believes that sometimes those delays get longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. You ever had those negative experiences? Esther has, but only with this particular airline. So when she got to the airport, she asked her driver to let her out in front of another airline. And she went to that counter and she said, my flight on United, you might as well know it sucks, is delayed. And so, do you have a flight to Salt Lake? And the girl said, yes. It's $900. And Esther said, perfect. She didn't really feel that way. All right, when does it leave? 55 minutes. And while the woman is typing, it goes away. And then there isn't another one that soon, but there's another one about an hour before her delayed flight is scheduled to leave. And Esther thought to herself, oh, that's a ridiculous amount of money to spend to save an hour of waiting. Even I am not that decadent. She is, but so she walked away from the counter, sort of feeling the tug, feeling like she should have purchased that ticket, but she used her reasoning power and sort of was examining the look on the woman's face. The woman couldn't believe that anyone would do that. And so instead of Esther following her own impulse, which was strong, she didn't do it, and she walked away. So she checked her big bag in with United Airlines, and then she waited with other people in the area all day. The delay kept being pushed out and out and out and out and out and out. She made a lot of friends. She had a very good time. And then, she told funny stories about airline delays. And then she told her favorite joke of all, because the people she had made new friends with were worried about their baggage making it, because they were changing planes in Salt Lake and even to another airline. And Esther told a joke that she's known for years. Ha, ha, ha. Man went to the ticket counter and said, I'd like this bag to go to Maui, and this one to Tucson, and this one to Tulsa. And the person behind the counter said, oh, sir, we cannot possibly do that. And he said, why not? You did it last week. Really funny. So finally, the new plane is there, but now there's a weather delay because there are lightning strikes in Denver. So another hour delay, and finally the plane takes off. It's only a 55-minute flight. Esther lands, she's at baggage carousel, and all the bags come off, but not hers. Why would hers come off? Where was her vibration? Where was her expectation? Nothing's happening to her. Everything's happening because she's calling it forward. Yes, doesn't feel that way, and you don't want to admit it, especially when it's happening. But so she had a strong impulse that she would just wait for her bag, because she lives out of her bag. Everything's in her bag. Without her bag, she is homeless. So she asked the woman, the very aggravated woman behind the counter at the lost baggage counter, I think I'll just wait for it. And the woman said, well, let me look and see where it is. If it's on the next plane, it won't be that long. But it wasn't on the next plane. Your bag went to San Jose. Not Maui, not Tucson, not Tulsa. It went to San Jose. Almost like her joke. And Esther said, well, when will they bring it? And the woman said, well, they're going to pick some bags up at 9:30, and then they're going to pick some more bags up at 1:30. So they'll bring it before 5:30 in the morning. And so Esther proceeded to martyrdom herself by going to her house where she planned to stay, but because it's a very awkward entry situation and no one was there but her and no way for them to find her, she decided to wait at the gate for a bag that didn't come all night long. And by the time 5:30 had arrived and the bag was still not there, Esther listened to a couple of audiobooks and saw deer running by and a raccoon and a little snake slithered across the driveway and cats she didn't know she had. In other words, she was at one with her property in a whole new way. She's never sat up all night at her gate. But by the time 5:30 came and she made the phone call back to the airline, and they said, well, are you at a residence? And Esther said, yes. And the woman said, oh, we never deliver in the night to residences. And Esther said, that would have been very nice to know 8 hours ago. So, you get what we're talking about here? Esther was not out ahead of that. She left her vibration right where she last left it. The last time a piece of baggage was not delivered to her was when she flew to Charlotte a few years ago on United Airlines. In other words, your vibrations are stuck where you last left them. You have expectations that you don't own up to. And so Esther didn't even try to get out ahead of that. She knows better. But really, Abraham, you think I can get out ahead of everything? Yes, we do. We think that you can get out ahead of everything. We think that you can, in general terms, plan for your well-being. We think that you can get to a place where you expect well-being to be yours. And every now and again, it is so wonderful to have an experience that is so obvious to you, where you can absolutely make the parallels, where there is no question in your mind that the thought you thought and the results you got were identical in vibrational nature. Because until you make that correlation between what you've been thinking and how you've been feeling and then what's happening, you have no real creative control in your experience. Then you have options. At least you know, I'm too lazy to get out ahead of it, or I've forgotten how important it is to get out ahead of it, so I'm not bothering to get out ahead of it. So I will just continue to make the airlines be the inconsiderate ones, when really, are you considerate of yourself when you have a belief about something that you don't want and you don't take the time to change that belief? Who really is not considering the options? You see what we're getting at? Do you create your own reality, or does United Airlines create your own reality? Because most people would like it to be the airline that is responsible. Most people would like it to be someone else needs to do something so that I can feel better. And we want you to know that you can, to a certain extent, you can fill out the survey. Esther won't. You can demand of things. Esther won't. She's smarter than that. Or you can decide, once you have an experience that is unsettling and not preferred and really not wanted, you can reach the place where you finally say, and this is what we want you to hear above all things that you will ever hear from us: I give up all control of circumstances and situations and people and events, and I'm turning it over to the power of non-resisted thought, because you just cannot control. You can't control. There are too many moving parts. Sometimes you think, well, it's just coincidence, or it's just odds, or just sometimes your bags come and sometimes they don't. No, everything that happens to you in your experience is a direct response to the vibrational frequencies that you are offering on any given subject. You just often don't realize that you're offering those frequencies until you get the results. So there are two ways to know what you're doing vibrationally, and what you're doing vibrationally really matters, because what you're doing vibrationally is what equals your point of attraction. So what you're doing vibrationally is causing the universe to respond, and there are two ways for you to know what that is. What am I doing vibrationally? One is, how do you feel? Esther had several very clear promptings of different action that she could take that she overrode with practicality. And looking back, she saw several things she could have done differently to make it better once it got tumbling in the wrong direction. So the first thing that you can do is pay attention to the way you feel, and do your best to find the best feeling thought or action, the path of least resistance thought or action. And the other way you can know what you're doing vibrationally is wait till it manifests. And when you're sitting at the gate all night, you know, yeah, that's right where my vibration was. That's right where it was. That's right where it was. In expectation of something unwanted.